Do you have a bright, creative child who struggles to focus or sit still? Maybe they fidget constantly or have frequent emotional meltdowns. Now, as a parent, your heart breaks when you see them struggle in school or have a hard time making friends. You've likely tried various behavioral programs, elimination diets, supplements, and maybe even stimulant medications, hoping that something works. But if lasting relief remains elusive, an overlooked root cause might be to blame, and that's an impaired vagus nerve. Most parents of kids who struggle with ADHD, especially if it's on the hyperactive or impulsive side, live in fight or flight themselves, and they're worried about how their kids will interact in situations where they need to sit still, be calm, take a test, or even focus. A 7-year-old diagnosed with ADHD whose mom found our pediatric chiropractic office. Mom was trying to avoid medications, but received so many emails daily about her behavior from school. She felt that it was just a matter of time before she ran out of options. In this child's first consult, when they came here to live Better Chiropractic, she couldn't sit still. And in fact, at one point, she climbed onto a table in the office and jumped off. It was an impressive jump. And to be honest, it was hard for me not to smile. Mom was horrified and so apologetic. The truth is, this child wasn't trying to misbehave. She was just doing what her brain felt was comfortable doing, jumping, moving, and giving stimulation. Now, after assuring mom that we understand and that we're all parents who get this struggle, that weight was just lifted off her shoulders. Now, this mom had heard of the vagus nerve before and its association between the brain-gut connection, but she initially wrote it off when her child no longer struggled with constipation that she experienced when she was a toddler. While the vagus nerve, it does influence the gut significantly, its unique and widespread pathway influences so much more. In fact, 75% of all nerve fibers carrying sensory signals or organ function travel along the vagal pathways. This makes the vagus nerve disproportionately influential in coordinating multiple body processes that are absolutely critical for health and overall well-being for children and adults alike. When it's not functioning properly, the vagus nerve is not functioning properly, symptoms like insomnia, headache, fatigue, anxiety, gut issues, and poor focus occur. That vagus nerve, it is a critical messenger carrying signals between the brain and organs that regulate the heart, breathing, digestion, inflammation levels, sensory processing, and the entire parasympathetic relaxation system. When the vagal superhighway develops dysfunction from things like early trauma, chronic stress, or poor nervous system communication, children display all the hallmark signs of ADHD. Research clearly ties vagus nerve impairment to attention focus challenges, hyperactivity, sleep and digestive orders, emotional dysregulation, and so much more. If you have exhausted typical treatment options without results or want to avoid the medication side effects altogether, specialized testing and natural support and stimulation of that vagus nerve provides new hope for families who want to put drugs and medication as a last resort. So how does the vagus nerve dysfunction actually work? And this is where I get a bit nerdy and dig into the science behind the vagus nerve, but I promise you I will make it applicable. But it's just fascinating when you map it out developmentally on how many connections there really are. The intricate neuromuscular tissues and pathways surrounding the vagus nerve are extremely sensitive to both physical tension and inflammation. Things like physical trauma during birth, infections like pandas or COVID-19, poor diet, toxin exposure, all cause what we call subluxation along the vagus nerve pathways, leading to impaired signaling or communication interference and overall neurological imbalance, right? We want to be balanced. So let's start with those birth stressors. Common birth interventions, including vacuum, forceps extraction, C-section, it places enormous physical strain on the vagus nerve and the surrounding tissues. Spinal tension, misalignments, and subluxation, those frequently occur in this delicate brainstem and upper neck region, and it interferes with the communication between the brain, vagus nerve, and the rest of the body. That's the birth side of it. Then there's the developmental and the growth stress connection, because kids are going to grow and hit those milestones. And with that being said, this leads to alterations in gross motor development, like crawling and walking, to sensory modulation and overall development. It can also fuel things like chronic gut issues, food sensitivities, sickness, heightened inflammation, all disturbing vagal tone further as these conditions persist and become repetitive. As children grow, regular childhood injuries, things like poor posture from devices, dental and cranial restrictions can also place stress on this vagus nerve. You got medications like antibiotics that can alter and inhibit key nerve signaling over time by disrupting the microbiome and that gut-brain connection. And then on top of that, you've got the long-term stress and suppression of that vagus nerve. And what I mean by that is gradually that rest and digest system stays suppressed and underactive. Symptoms like headaches, anxiety, poor stamina, intestinal discomfort, sleeplessness, and heart palpitations then increase. Attention span, impulse control, and emotional regulation falter. Those are all hallmark signs of ADHD. So how do we help this vagus nerve dysfunction? Well, much like that 7-year-old I was talking about earlier, we tailor protocols unique to each individual's needs and work to stimulate and strengthen your child's vagus nerve, restoring nervous system balance gently. We know it's hard for most kids to sit still for an assessment, behave for a long time in an office, and want to just jump all over the table during an adjustment. That's okay. Our office is pediatric focused and all our systems are set up to make the steps so much easier for them. Okay, Dr. Joe, what are the steps to find out the root cause of ADHD via that vagus nerve, right? The first step involves gathering the detailed and personalized case history of each child. What we do then is we determine the current function of that vagus nerve and autonomic nervous system through our insight scans, which enabled us to then detect and measure the amount of the child's subluxation patterns and dysautonomia. This step is considered essential because it allows us to identify the tracking and foundational root causes. So what I'm going to do is show you this here. This right here is an example of what we found in this young child's scans that clearly show why it is so hard for her to sit still, focus, and be engaged. Now, while at rest, her scans had an excess of neuromuscular energy in her nervous system. Think of it as that's all the red bars here on the scan. Well, she's just sitting there. This is extra energy that the brain is picking up from the body. It's telling her cerebellum and central processing system that she should move fast and keep a busy brain as that movement and attention span, or lack thereof, matches the input from what her brain is receiving. We took this scan along with 2 others, plus her clinical history, created a customized care plan that mapped out how long it would take, how frequent we would need to start with adjustments. We then utilized precise neurologic focused adjustments to address the subluxation, release the stuck fight or flight tension, activate the vagus nerve, improve that communication between the brain and the rest of the body. First response most children have to this specialized form of chiropractic adjustments is better sleep, they're more calm, and improved sensory regulation. Now, this child's mom immediately saw the impact on sleep. That was number 1. She went to bed not being able to go to sleep before 9 p.m. to then falling asleep when mom was reading to her during her bedtime story. And instead of waking up at 6 a.m., mom was having to wake her up and get her ready for school. This child's story turned into fewer emails from school. And now 6 months later, teachers are in awe of the changes and are curious really on how she calmed without medication. Now that's awesome. So if you're ready to address the root cause of your child's neurologic challenges head on, we would love to help. There's safer, more natural options that exist that address the vagus nerve dysfunction and improve neurological connection and communication and overall function. Kids can be kids and get the most out of life. So please feel free to ask any questions in the comments or send us a DM. I also ask that if you would please kindly share this video with other parents, families, and Facebook groups who need to hear this. And finally, if you've had enough like this 7-year-old's mom and family, please give us a call and come in and get checked and scanned.